Hello, welcome to the next episode of the Giles and the Goalies podcast. We have a little bit of breaking news to open the show tonight. We did get a trade in right before the deadline this afternoon, like everybody else did. We traded Charlie's appearance on the podcast tonight for some Chipotle, 6 of beer, and a guest to be named later. So to sum it up, Charlie traded tonight for Chipotle, beer, and guest to be named later. I'm just kidding.
I like that deal for us.
Charlie's actually doing real work tonight instead of chatting with us. But Ben is here. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
Since there's about 1,500 things we need to discuss on our time here tonight, we might as well get right to it.
Jump right in.
Trade deadline today, unless you've been living under a rock. While we're pretty active today. Their first trade was kind of a non-surprise, if you will, given all the incredible radio attention it received this morning with the hashtag Bring Leo Home campaign that was started by a radio personality. Jordan Leopold was acquired for a 5th-round pick. Ben, your thoughts?
I like this move, and I actually wrote about this for Gone Puck Wild on Saturday, why we should bring him in, if the price was right. So I do like this move. Justin Falk wanted to be dealt, apparently, and we dealt him and a 5th.
Sorry, I forgot Falk.
Yeah, that's not bad. As far as cost goes, that's really not bad, considering we got a 6th for Falk last year. It kind of just means we slid down around, basically is what happened. So when you really think about that, I mean, I like Leopold completely aside from the one of us stuff. In my article, I laid out some, they're called hero charts, where they kind of hit on the adjusted Corsi against and for and percentage numbers, and his charts compare pretty favorably to one Nate Prosser. I don't think he's going to be used ahead of Prosser. I wouldn't mind it myself, but I like the deal all in all, especially for the price. What did you think of it?
It was good. I mean, I was kind of mentally prepared for it anyway. When you kind of just get up and go, okay, Marco Scandella probably not going to play tomorrow, so.
Right.
They'll probably just trade for him just to kind of have him there in case. But yeah, and then it kind of led me to watch a little bit of film on him today, which hopefully I can get an article up on it tomorrow. But he's not bad by any stretch of the means, but he's not the player that played for the Gophers 13 years ago.
Right.
When we last saw him, I think that's kind of what people still seem to think, and people are, Jordan Leopold, this is so good. Well, he's not the Hobie Baker Award winner anymore. He's,
right.
34, 35.
Yeah, 34.
He's seen his better days, but he's still serviceable. But he was being healthy scratched in Columbus, so that is what it is. But still better than calling up Bickle or Falk or Blum by any means.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely cool with it. I think that's kind of.
Yeah, there isn't really much else to that. I mean, obviously,
otherwise, unless you want to go in depth on the letter.
The letter. I was just going to bring that up.
Begging the Wild to bring him home, but.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's literally being covered by everyone and their mom, and that's fine. It's a really cute story, I suppose. I hope, I pray to Jesus that it had nothing to do with his trade here, but that's all it is. It's a Deadspin article. It's front page Yahoo, make you feel warm and fuzzy inside story. It really, I think we should try to detach it a little bit from the actual hockey move. I know that sounds cold, but it just, it's nice. His daughter wrote the letter, wanted the Wild to trade for him so he could come home. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I like this move, and I think we made this move because it was a good hockey move that made sense. And I would kind of hope that I really hope that people see that and they don't just assume, oh, that's the guy they traded so he could see his daughter. Like that. Aside from the fact, like, oh, that's a guy who is a serviceable third pair defenseman. I just don't want that to get lost on people because of a super cute letter written by an 11-year-old girl.
And then I think kind of something else maybe gets lost is he is a left shot defenseman.
Yes,
they were looking for, so he can definitely fill in for Nate Prosser, if you will.
Yes,
should his game kind of deteriorate, which I'm just kind of waiting for at any given day now, considering he takes about 4 or 5 crushing hits a night.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's been his our version of a crash test dummy lately, and that was one of the points that I made in the article for Gone Puck Wild. Is not only the points that I made. The first point was Jared Spurgeon, and that he still hasn't returned. Yes, he's supposedly going to be returning to skating soon, but that really, that's positive. Don't get me wrong, but it's still basically a concussion from what we can tell. Nobody's actually said anything, but right. That doesn't guarantee his return anytime soon. I'd like to be optimistic and say that he's back next week after he has a few practices and feels good. That would be awesome. But with a concussion, you never know. And
right.
So that's kind of scary. And then obviously Scandella sounds like hopefully it's not too serious. He was, I believe, should be back to skating soon, or even if he's not playing tomorrow, he should be back sooner rather than later from what it sounds like. But yeah, and the way that Prosser is just absolutely, welcoming every crushing blow with open arms, makes me kind of wonder how long he's going to stay healthy this season if he keeps doing that, especially if he's being encouraged to do so for some reason.
And I think we'll kind of hit on this in a little bit kind of after we go through all the trades and whatnot, but the Wild schedule is kind of lighter the next 3 or 4 games, I believe, before it just turns into crushingly difficult.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be opposed with Spurgeon or Scandella taking their time and returning, but like I said, we'll kind of hit on this in a little bit after we discuss the second trade the Wild made.
Yay!
It was a little surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly may have overreacted to this on the Twitter machine today, but it was surprising to say the least. The Wild traded a second-round pick in 2017. That is 3 drafts away for Buffalo Sabres forward Chris Stewart on a move that just barely got in at the deadline, as I was reading. Ben, your thoughts before I
before you self-destruct. You know what? This move has been kind of panned by everyone, especially those of us in the Wild blogging community, and I totally get why. Stewart is a guy that's not, it's more of a concern of the Wild just kind of freewheeling and throwing out second-round picks like parade candy, but it's Stewart's, his fancy stat numbers aren't tremendous. His production numbers are okay, but they're not tremendous. But I want to look on the positive side of this, just because we, I guess don't really have much of a choice otherwise. He has scored 15 goals in, I think 3 or 4 straight seasons. And, he's been over 100 penalty minutes in 3 or 4 straight full seasons. So, as much as people hate that, hashtag grits, that kind of tough guy kind of stuff, I don't think it's a bad thing. I hope along the same lines as the letter, I hope that this trade wasn't a specific response to the game in Colorado the other night. But I kind of have a sinking suspicion that it was, just because Cody McLeod kind of had his way with several Wild players, and it was kind of embarrassing. So I don't know. I just kind of hope that there wasn't a reaction to that. But I don't know. For a second round pick for a rental is a little bit of a lofty price for a guy who won't be in our top 6, I don't think. And but you know what, you can't have enough depth, and it looks like it's more likely than not that the Wild are going to be in the playoffs. So to have a big, tough forward that can actually score a little bit. I mean, he'd be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. He'd be 5th on the team in goals right now. It could be worse. I guess. I mean, I really hope that he tears it up over these next 2 months to really justify this trade, and especially in the playoffs. I mean, I really hope this guy is a playoff beast to make this trade worth it. So, and that's entirely possible. So we just kind of have to hope for that, I guess. Second rounder was a little high, but what do you do? What do you do? What was your scorching hot take on this?
I have so many questions when it comes to him.
Right.
My friend, he was trying to top me off the ledge when we were chatting, and I actually said that's probably a better deal than the Matt Molson deal we gave last year. But I don't know. But it's just, there's so many questions, can he actually make an effort with this team, or will he make an effort with this team? Can he be that player he once was, a few years ago when Buffalo was actually good? And, I'll give him this. The Wild could use a big bruising forward who can score, because I'm starting to have a few more doubts than I would like about Charlie Coyle at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now, I certainly hope that this, like you said, wasn't a response to the last 3 seconds in Colorado when everyone just got shoved around. And the Wild still won, mind you. They got shoved around, but they won. And, not every team in this league has a Cody McLeod on it.
Right.
Or not every team in this league has Cody McLeod as their alternate captain. So I could go off for about 30 minutes about why I really dislike the Avalanche, but I won't.
Yeah, that's better time.
Anyway, I'm like you. I hope this works out. I want it to work out because they gave up a second-round pick, and it seems like the Wild are not going to have a second-round pick for the next, half-decade, kind of like the New York Rangers toss around first-round picks.
Right.
They won't have any for the next half-decade. Well, I probably overvalue draft picks. Still giving up a high pick like a second-rounder is, you're still giving up a pretty decent player. It's not a total crapshoot like a 5th, 6th, or 7th. But I don't know. I want it to work out, but I just have doubts because Stewart is just, I don't know.
Yeah, and to his credit, Fletcher didn't give up a first-round pick and anything. So, I mean, there is that. You can kind of give him a little bit of props for not going completely buck wild and, throwing around first-round picks like the Rangers do. But it is a little alarming that we don't have a second-round pick for the next 3 drafts. So, I don't know. I guess it could be worse, but I don't know. I want to look at this positively. The Wild do need a big bruising forward. He's a guy who can score goals. He's obviously got some toughness. As much as the blogging community hates that, I think it's something that's going to be well received by Wild fans. Because I think the blogging community tends to be pretty anti-fighting, and they don't see the value in having that kind of guy on your team. Yeah, not every other team has Cody McLeod, but in the playoffs, it doesn't tend to get horribly chippy sometimes, but sometimes it does, and sometimes just having a guy like that around prevents a little bit of that. I want to look on the positives here. I really am trying to look at the positives of dealing a second-round pick for him, especially as a rental. I don't think there's really any chance of us re-signing him, which is fine. But acquiring both him and Bergenheim really, even with Zucker gone and Carter out and Cook out right now, creates a little bit of a logjam And I think that's a very real question, too. I mean, who do you scratch for him? I guess the easy answer is Brodziak, because he's probably low man on the totem pole right now, but he had a pretty good week last week. And I don't know, it just seems... I don't know, it seems unfair a little bit to just kind of shovel him off to the press box this quickly. So I don't know, I guess I'll wait, for a little bit more judgment until I see him. He's supposedly going to be able to play tomorrow. He's supposedly flying in tonight and will be in the lineup in some capacity tomorrow. So I guess we'll to be continued on that one.
I fired this out there on Twitter a little bit ago, but I think Jordan Schrader will probably be the odd man out tomorrow night for Chris Stewart.
Could see that.
Just because the fourth line has been red hot.
That's true. Very true.
Last week.
Good point.
So I'm not sure you want to split them up right now because you're getting production out of Eric Halla. And you haven't gotten anything out of him at all this year. So maybe not the best idea to split that up, but to be seen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the fourth line had, basically won us the game in Nashville and went a long ways towards us winning that game in Colorado. But I mean, if they're scratching Schrader, I mean, he hasn't really lit the world on fire, but I think he's been a pretty solid contributor. Especially since Zucker's injury, since he's gotten basically top 9 minutes. I like what he's brung to the team. He's got the speed that Zucker has, that we're missing obviously without Zucker, and he's got the speed that Halla is supposed to have, that we haven't really seen of, save for a couple of flashes this year. So, and he's also got pretty good chemistry with a few guys. Most notably Nino, and maybe a little bit you can argue Vanek, but I don't know. I mean, depth is never a bad thing. That's just kind of the mantra that I think that Wild fans, especially those of us who are a little too serious about the team, need to have when it comes to dealing this second-round pick. Depth, especially in the playoffs, is key. And we've got, I think, 5 back-to-backs, including next week. We played at home against the Ducks, which is brutal. And then the next night we're in St. Louis, which is brutally brutal. So, it's back-to-backs like that where I think we're going to be glad that we have all this depth. And then, if we suffer injuries down the road, down the stretch to the playoffs, which is entirely possible. I mean, there's still 20 games left. I think we're going to be really glad that we have this depth. So that would be my advice to our beautiful listeners. Just have a mantra. Depth is key.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing when we're sitting here complaining about scratching players who are playing well. That's got to say something about your depth. So I guess, considering that at one time Warren Peters was our top line center, that's not a bad thing to be complaining about.
We've come a long way.
So I guess I should be thankful. I just figured that out as we're going along here. So maybe I'm starting to come around on this.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I thought Matt Molson was a good deal last year, and it's all hindsight. So I mean, if he scores a huge goal, it kind of makes it all worth it. If he disappears in the playoffs like Molson did, then it looks like a pretty horseshit trade. So it's a really fine line there. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it starts tomorrow with, I believe it's Ottawa. As we kind of start to look ahead, actually, before we look ahead, let's look back.
Yeah.
The Wild actually did play hockey in the last week since we last got together.
Woo!
I think we touched on the 2 games. Win over Nashville, which I missed most of, unfortunately. Ooh. And then the 3-1 win over Colorado, which just about fired up the entire internet, it seemed like. I only saw highlights of the Nashville game, but obviously from all reports, it was a great team effort. Fourth line was probably the best line we had out there. And then same could be said for Saturday night. Maybe not the greatest team effort, but the team still won thanks to the fourth line. And then, well, Colorado did very Colorado things at the end.
Yeah, to start off with Nashville, it wasn't really like there wasn't anything fluky to that win at all. It felt very legitimate, and I think it was. I mean, given how the Wild have played for the past, month plus now, 6 weeks we're going on now in the post-Dubnyk era, I think it felt real, and that's a very likely first-round playoff matchup, and I think that bodes really well for us. Granted, we still play them, I think 2 or 3 more times left this season, so a lot remains to be seen there, but we had a pretty convincing win in their house, and they're on top of the NHL right now, and I think that is, that is a really good sign for the Wild. I think that, the way that they played and the fact that our fourth line basically won that game is pretty huge. And the fact that we were able to get a couple more goals past Rinne, I mean, we had 3 and an empty netter on him. That's not bad. It's a good sign when you can score goals on Pekka Rinne, and we've scored 5 and 3 on him in 2 games, and that's something that virtually, I haven't looked obviously, but I'm pretty sure no other team can boast that kind of, 4 goals a game average against Pekka Rinne.
Yeah, that's obviously something that they kind of have in their back pockets as,
right.
Kind of going down the road, you match up against Nashville, whether it be in the last games of the regular season or maybe in the playoffs in theory.
Right.
And you kind of, there's just maybe that little cloud of doubt in their minds going, man, these guys they've kind of lit us up. They've kind of got our number. Maybe not quite to the level of Wild against Colorado, where the Wild just absolutely owned Colorado. But, maybe just enough to go, hey, the Wild can beat these guys. But again, remains to be seen.
Yeah, so with the Colorado game, I mean, I think that was... I hate to say that there was playoff atmosphere because we weren't there, so we don't really know. I mean, granted, we were essentially some of the only Wild fans that weren't at that game, but it was a very interesting game intensity wise because you could tell there's still a lot of bad blood between these teams, and Zach Parise gave what probably was the quote of the year after the game, saying, "Yeah, well, I can understand why they're frustrated if they haven't if they've the only goal they've scored on us in 4 games is on a dump in." And
that was a great troll.
Oh my God, that quote was just amazing. I'm glad I got
number 1,763 of why you should love Zach Parise.
Yeah, so I think that Colorado's definitely just tired of us. I mean, they're just tired of us. They haven't played us in a while, but they scored 1 goal on us, and it was a fluky goal that really, it, depending on how you read the letter of the law, shouldn't have counted.
Yeah.
Because the way that McLeod, basically pushed Dubnyk into the net, had Dubnyk not been pushed, his foot wouldn't have gone in the net. It's not like it's something that he would have done on his own. So, I don't know. The goaltending interference has been so inconsistent this year as far as how it's called and how it's judged. All you can really do is kind of shrug your shoulders at that one. I didn't get too upset about it. It was what it was, and luckily we still won that game, and there was nothing really to it. But Colorado, what a gong show. What a dumpster fire. I mean, Nate McKinnon's playing on the 4th line, and Patrick Waugh sending out his head goon with 10 seconds left in the game, and now there's going to be fines for him and for McLeod and for Landeskog for reaching across the plexiglass between benches to punch Mikko Koivu, which, Koivu's reaction to it was just priceless, where he just kind of looks at him like, what are you doing? Like, what is this, adult, beer league crap that you're trying to pull right now, which is exactly what it was. And that game was just kind of a blast top to bottom because, we just absolutely blew the doors off of them and kind of, goes to show how where they're at and how much of a fluke last year really was for the Avalanche. and we only play them a couple more times. We play them at Excel on Sunday, and that game should be absolutely bananas. So I'm looking forward to that one coming up this week.
Well, I've made my feelings on this podcast for the Avalanche well known. And then it came out on Twitter Saturday night. I try to be a little more low-key than I used to on Twitter, and I think for the most part I've done all right, but Saturday night it just brought it all back, so I can't bite my tongue when we play the Avs. I hate them. We all know that. But they won. That's why. As long as you win, you want to put a team out there that, other teams are going to go, man, these guys can beat us. Kind of like what the Blackhawks have done.
Right. They
go out, they roll 4 lines that can score.
Yep.
And you're not thinking about gooning it up. So that's why I'm a little have my reservations about the Stewart trade, just because I don't want that to be a response to what happened in Colorado. But I don't know. He's not your typical goon player. He can actually do something.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. It's not like we went out and we got a mercenary. We
traded for Brad Staubitz. What?
Exactly. I mean, we're not getting, and I don't even think there's any of those guys really left in the NHL, which is fine. I'm a proponent of fighting, and I know that's pretty unpopular amongst bloggers, but I think that the days of the goon for hire are pretty much dead. Every guy who is a quote unquote fighter now has at least some redeemable skills. To where he somewhat belongs on an NHL roster, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing, top to bottom, especially with today's game. So, the fact that Stewart can score, 15 goals is nothing to sneeze at. 15 goals, like I said, he'd be 4th or 5th on the team right now in scoring with goals. So, I like the move. I'm not crazy about not having a second round pick for the next half decade, but what do you do? It's something that you just kind of have to wait and see how it goes.
That 15 goals he scored, that's 15 more than Brad Staubitz ever gave.
Exactly. So take what you can get.
Yeah, to touch up the last week or a couple games we played, Wild won both games. Avs are trash.
Yep.
There are a lot of profanities, which I won't utter on this podcast, because on iTunes we're listed as clean, so I'll try to keep it that way.
Yes.
But yeah, solid week ahead, or behind. Hopefully a solid week ahead, although the Wild kind of have to start playing on the road a little bit more than what I care for, because it's tournament time, so the XL Energy Center tends to be host to all the high school events and college events than actual NHL games in this next little stretch. But the Wild do have 3 games this week. Ottawa, then at Washington, and then the next night against Carolina on the road. And then I think they come home for Colorado. So you got, like I said, 3 out of 4 teams this week that are not going to make the playoffs. 3 games you should at least probably win. And then you have Washington, who, man, I don't know how they're winning, but they're winning, which is kind of impressive for them. Probably because it's just kind of off the top of my head, thinking Braden Holtby kind of doing a Carey Price.
Yeah, a little bit.
Carrying that team.
Yeah, so this is really the last soft stretch that this team's going to see. After this, we're looking at 14 games where looks like, let's see, maybe 2 teams are not in playoff contention after we're done playing New Jersey on Tuesday. So, or next Tuesday. So, yeah, this week is really we got to make hay while the sun's shining this week. Even though we're going out to the East Coast and playing a back-to-back, you really got to get points out of those games. You really kind of have to hope for, I would say at least 3 points out of that little trip there with those 2 games. That remains to be seen, but in Ottawa and Colorado at home, you really have to get wins there, because those 2 teams are just kind of respective messes right now. So you really got to take advantage of those because the end of this season is, I've said it a zillion times and I'll continue to say it. It's a meat grinder and we need all the pad we can get. And, in my article about the second half schedule, when it began after the All-Star break, I mentioned that the Wild need to be soundly in playoff position by Friday, March 13th. And they're there now, and to get a little bit of a point pad before then would be even better, for them to have a chance going down the stretch because we play, basically every, Western Conference foe at least one time, if not twice, within our division as well. So that's going to be a tough last month of the schedule.
And I think maybe kind of a underrated aspect of their schedule this week with that back-to-back is they play the incredibly tougher team, Washington, the first night.
Yeah.
And they go to Carolina, who's really trying to put on a good tank for the McDavid sweepstakes, although they're not doing as nearly good a job as Buffalo or Carolina could.
No.
Arizona. But, so maybe you could come away with 2 wins there.
Yeah, that'd be great. 4 points out of that would be awesome.
But, that's still a stretch given how the Wild last played on their last back-to-back.
Yeah.
When they came out and they just had no movement against Winnipeg, and they did still get a point out of it. So maybe a little optimism for a pair of wins there. But
do you think we finally see Darcy Kemper against Carolina?
I hope so, because otherwise I just have this recurring nightmare that he'll have to be sprung into action in a game we need to win, and he'll just be so rusty. I don't know.
I hope that guy's taking extra pucks in practice.
Yeah. I'm not going to hate on Dubnyk's run, but I would certainly like to see Kemper get a game or two before the season ends.
Yeah.
Charlie would no doubt be reminding us if he were here that Dubnyk was a backup. He wasn't getting starter minutes in Arizona, so he's probably got a lot more in a tank than a regular goalie would. But
sure,
still would like to see Kemper get a little bit of game action as we move towards April. But yeah.
Did you want to touch on the Phillips Knight trade at all?
Oh yeah, we can kind of hit on that.
Sure.
The third trade, the Wild did get another trade in right before the deadline today, kind of a lesser trade, but they did make a minor league swap when they traded their 2011 first-round pick. Also was part of the Brent Burns deal. Zach Phillips, he was traded to Boston for Jared Knight, another minor league forward. Just kind of a swapping of 2 guys who really had no future with either club. So,
right.
And from what I've read, Wild really weren't going to bring back Zach Phillips because he really went right into the tank the last 2 years. So, I guess this is good, but at the same time, I just kind of that was just kind of a wasted pick, and Charlie Coyle is all we have left of the Brent Burns trade.
Yeah. So
it's just kind of another crap mood right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Phillips asked for a trade out of the organization, which, it makes total sense. I don't follow Wild prospects as closely as a lot of people, so I don't know a ton about Zach Phillips. I know he's got a lot of talent and not a whole lot of try hard, if you will. So it makes sense for him to get a fresh start somewhere else, for his career. And from what it sounds like with this Knight kid, he's kind of one of those hustle forwards, maybe a fourth line type of guy at best. He's got 3 points in 36 games right now in the AHL, so not a guy that you're going to get any kind of worthwhile production out of, but maybe a depth piece down the line, a guy who plays in your AHL team for a whole long for quite a while, and maybe makes a cameo every now and then, but hopefully nothing more. But really, just the underlying lead there is Zach Phillips finally being shipped out. He's been a healthy scratch in Iowa. at times this year, and he is really kind of just worn out his welcome after we wasted that pick on him. So I think I can speak for all Wild fans when I just kind of say good riddance, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hope that this move is just, I think it's kind of a precursor to a whole mess of others that'll come in the summer to just kind of bring in a new influx of talent in Iowa, because, I mean, even after their early season coaching change, they really went nowhere.
Yep.
And I had higher hopes for them, but the reality was they really have no talent, and that's
right.
That's kind of a huge thing for them in the offseason to address. Not really sure how, I guess, but, you know, maybe sign a few prospects to some entry-level deals or bring in some fresh faces, but it's just been a struggle just keeping up with Iowa. When you look at their score, and it's 5-1,
right.
It's 6-0. I mean, especially considering they're better players they were supposed to have for this year, maybe like a Dumba Folan or Olofsson,
right.
Schrader. They've all been in and out with Minnesota, and it just, not fun.
Nope.
And another reason why I'm just kind of hesitant to tossing draft picks around is the Wild really could use an influx of talent in the AHL, and you're kind of starting to see a concerning trend with players who was kind of rushed through the AHL, so you kind of hope they keep some of their prospects in the AHL for a while, let them pan out.
Sure.
Like a Charlie Coyle comes to mind. He was probably rushed too quickly out of the AHL, and he's struggling right now, although I will give him that him and Niederreiter together on a line right now are kind of an unstoppable force.
Yeah, it's working out okay right now, but yeah, I know what you mean. I understand.
Yeah, remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Iowa. I'm having a lot of issues keeping up with them just because it's just the same story every night.
Right.
They're not fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's painfully familiar to Minnesota Wild fans because, I mean, their goaltending has really been, the bulk of their problem. Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of talent down there, but I think they have enough AHL talent to not be god-awful like they have.
Right.
But unfortunately, Gustafsson, who is kind of looked upon as a hot prospect for goaltending, has been just brutal. And obviously, Kemper even spent some time down there, and it didn't go well. And John Curry is, he's John Curry. So it's not been a good year in Iowa, and even though there's a lot of reasons for that, much like the big league club, goaltending has kind of been the chief reason for that. So it's a problem organizationally, organization wide. So it's something that maybe they should start to address this offseason with really figuring out the goaltending issue.
Right, and you just kind of hope that Devin Dubnyk hopefully he'll stick around past this year, and he's just not a flash in the pan kind of guy this year. You hope that he can sustain this success, because if the Wild have to go back to Kemper, I mean, that it could be all right, but I mean, he probably is another example of rush through the AHL too quickly.
Very much so.
And then after Kemper, it's not good. They're probably their next best guy is still in Finland not even on an entry level deal. They just have the rights to this guy.
Right.
So it's not good.
Nope.
Not good. And on that downer note, I can change topics and find
Please do.
something else to go on.
Well, you kind of alluded to it earlier. The state high school hockey tournaments are this weekend, and that's why the Wild are on the East Coast until Sunday. You actually wrote fantastic articles, some previews to the Class A tournament that came out today, and the AA tournament that will come out tomorrow, I believe. Previews. So do you want to hit on those a little bit? What did you...
I mean, I won't go into a whole mess of detail, but, the Class A tournament, it'll probably be like how it's been the last couple of years, where you'll have more blowout games in the first round, but then once you hit the semifinals and the finals, you'll probably had some fantastic hockey games.
Yeah.
So certainly nothing to sleep on, just because Class A is seen as small schools and not as good. But I disagree when it comes to those last two rounds. And then as I was kind of going through and writing these previews, I kind of realized when looking at the Double A that, at least to me, was kind of followed the high school tournaments for at least the last at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. This is one of the more deeper fields that I've ever seen.
Yep.
I mean, I could ask some of my relatives who have been following this far longer than I have, but I mean, you've got some very good hockey teams, and it'll make for what I think is going to be a fantastic tournament. And if Charlie were here, I'm sure he would back me up on that, because he'll be there covering it, I believe, for his job.
Sure.
But yeah, it's exciting. I always love this time of year, mainly because I have a 3-day week every time, as I take a couple days off and go down there. But it should be fun. I did try to text Charlie a little bit ago and try to get some picks out of him for this tournament, but I have yet to hear from him. I did see him in the forum not too long ago on Wild Extra, so I was hoping I could maybe catch him before he started calling whatever basketball game he was calling tonight, but sure. I probably missed that time. But for whatever sake, I'm going to pick... I kind of alluded in my Class A article that Hermantown has been in the championship game the last 5 years,
yeah.
And they haven't won. Although they did win in 2007, so it's not like they haven't won. So I believe I forget what news I was watching, they called them the Buffalo Bills, which is false, because Hermantown actually has won this tournament before.
Sure.
But I'm not going to pick Hermantown just because I can't bet against the last 5 years. So I'm going to go with the sleeper and pick on Matamidi, Class A. And then Double A is just a crapshoot. I mean, you could have any of 6 teams win this tournament.
Yeah.
Lakeville North, everybody's kind of looking at them. They're undefeated. We haven't seen an undefeated team since the great Bloomington Jefferson team of '94, when they had like 5 NHL players on it, I believe, if I recall correctly. But I don't see them winning it. I'm gonna kind of go with the team who's won it the last couple of years, Edina Hornets, just because they just seem to continue to produce great players and great teams.
Yep.
Credit to that program as a whole, not just the high school team, that entire program. Because I have, you have relatives or whatever, they see, teams for 12-year-olds, and you just hear, oh, Edina, they beat us 12 rep.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So I got Edina in the second round.
Yeah, I think an interesting thing, and I think you're right on with the Hermantown deal. I think that's the story in Class A, is will Hermantown be the runner-up again? I assume that's got to be some kind of record for almost any kind of high school sport to lose the championship game 5 years in a row. So for them to break through would be huge. And for me, kind of the story. Obviously Lakeville North is a huge story because they're undefeated, for the first time in 20-some years. But the fact that St. Thomas Academy is in the Double A tournament for the first time, that's pretty huge, because they really dominated the Single A circuit for so long. It's nice to actually see them move up, just so we can kind of stop complaining about it, because it kind of was crappy that they were in Single A, based on their enrollment size, because they're a prep school, they can recruit. So to see them in Double A is nice. But looking through the roster, it is absolutely a stacked Double A field. When you're talking about, there isn't really, they're looking at all the schools in here. They're all hugely successful hockey programs. You've got Hill Murray. There's a ton of history there. Edina, obviously, tons of history there. You've got St. Thomas Academy, as we mentioned. Blaine has actually fielded some pretty good teams. They've been in the tournament quite a bit. Eden Prairie, kind of self-explanatory, and Duluth East is back. Duluth East, the darling of what was it, the 5 overtime game, way back when. Dave Spihar, yep. They're back, and I guess the only underdog here is Bemidji because they haven't been in the tournament since I think '86. I think I heard. Yeah. So they're the lone underdog against 7 of you could argue the best hockey programs in the state. So it's really a stacked, and I mean stacked state tournament. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot of flukes in the section finals as you get some years where a top 10 team or a top 5 team even is upset in the section finals. So this should be a fantastic year, and you've got it really well laid out on the website, complete with a complete tournament bracket. So it should be a whole lot of fun, and you can even follow along on Wild Extra, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and if anybody sees me downtown this weekend, please don't hesitate to buy me a beer. I do like beer.
Yes.
I think as we kind of start to kind of wrap it up here, as I try to not cough anymore. I think kind of since we've kind of had a strenuous run of topics here, we decided to finish with something you and I can kind of talk for years about.
Yes.
Right before the show, we kind of, I forget what brought it on, but it was just, we started getting on Jersey Falls, so we were like, let's talk about this at the end, since we literally could go on this for a while. And so let's talk about what is the worst Jersey Foul you have ever seen? Because I've seen some pretty god awful ones.
Well, it was led to from somebody brought up that you wanted a La Tendresse jersey because they brought up making Leopold jerseys already, which they're making Jordan Leopold jerseys. When really there's no indication that he's going to resign here at all. Other than the fact that he's from Minnesota, there's really not a whole lot of reason to own a Jordan Leopold jersey, especially if he's in the press box more often than not. So it's kind of like, that's the weird thing, about this is so we brought up the La Tendresse jersey, and that, was, brought up a story by me that my buddy actually owns a La Tendresse jersey that does not say La Tendresse in the back. It says "Let's Undress," which is got a hilarious backstory to it that I'm actually involved. I actually bought that jersey for him, and he got it customized, which is another long story. But so that led to an article that you posted or that you linked on Twitter about Jersey fouls involving him. So we thought of, Jersey fouls just in general. I unfortunately Google imaged Jersey fouls, hockey jersey fouls, and I can't unsee what I've seen. I have a lot of pet peeves. I do a lot of kind of really passive shopping on eBay for jerseys that I'd like to add to my collection, and I see a lot of stuff that just kind of bothers me, especially on eBay, and you do see it at the Excel too, but the influx of knockoff jerseys into the market is kind of disturbing, and so you end up with just some kind of really weird jerseys. Like for instance, I ordered a jersey once, a Patrick Waugh jersey for the Canadians, and what I got was the Reebok Edge version of a Patrick Waugh jersey for the Canadians. Which I could never wear because it just kind of bothers the hell out of me. I mean, the jerseys changed over to Reebok in 2006 or something, or 7.
Yeah.
And obviously Patrick Waugh was traded from the Canadians in 1995. So yeah, just the historically horribly inaccurate jerseys kind of bother me, more so than the knockoffs do, because I understand jerseys are expensive. Not everybody wants to drop $100 and some on a jersey. You'd rather buy a Chinese one for $50. That's fine, but the ones that are just not right at all, and then that leads into other ones that aren't right. Like unfortunately, when I googled it, some pictures came up of multiple Gretzky jerseys for teams that he never played for. Just off the top.
People think that their retired number across the NFL means that's valid. No.
Yeah.
It's not. People don't do that for Jackie Robinson.
I was just thinking about that too.
Actually, they kind of do now. They sell those Jackie Robinson jerseys that they all wear on Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, and I hate that. I hate that. I shouldn't say I hate it. It just, cause I don't hate Jackie Robinson, and I don't hate what he did for the game. I'm all for that, and I think it's awesome. I don't like everyone wearing number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day, so you can kind of get my gist there. But I mean, a Gretzky Maple Leafs jersey. I'm seeing a Gretzky Lightning jersey, and here's an added bonus: a Gretzky Canucks jersey, spelt wrong.
What?
Yeah, it's on Google. If you Google hockey jersey fouls, it comes up on the top row. It's GRETZSKY. So misspellings are always. I don't know how that even happens. But misspellings are always brutal. There's a guy here with a Drew Doughty jersey, Douty. Just ignoring the fact that there's a GH in there somewhere that he's missing. So just having an incorrect jersey because you're skimping on cash bothers the heck out of me. But just incorrect in any form. If it's historically inaccurate, if the player never played for that team, that kind of stuff. I mean, it all just really... if you're going to wear a jersey to honor that player or honor that team, whatever, at least make sure it's correct. Just at least make sure who you're honoring and who you're representing is at least represented correctly. It's not like a tattoo misspelling, but it's kind of along the same lines for me. So what makes you cringe when you see jerseys?
Well, I understand your point about the Patrick Waugh Canadiens Reebok jersey.
Yeah.
Although it's the Canadiens jersey hasn't changed that much over the years, but
true.
I still get it. But
there's subtleties though, yeah.
The bigger foul to that extent of wearing the wrong jersey for a player that never wore that particular jersey is something I see too commonly when the Jets come down here. Is when Teemu Selanne jerseys. I see so many Selanne new Jets jerseys. It drives me crazy. The Selanne Jets jersey 93, 94 is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, absolutely.
And I hate that people have bought the new one with him on it. He never wore it. I'm sorry, he never wore it.
Well,
that's just wrong.
That and their old jersey was so much better than their new jersey. I mean, yes. it was so classic, and their new jersey is just so effing boring. And I don't get that.
I really hope that on Selanne night last month or 2 months ago, whatever it was, when the Jets wore those jerseys during warm-ups, they would take them off. Yeah. For this entire game. This is so much better than what you have.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on their jerseys now, it's just their ones from the 90s were so much better.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But I think kind of getting back into the jersey falls, just kind of bringing it a little closer to home here, just kind of wild jersey falls is, I go to, 15, 17, 18 games a year, depending on playoffs or not. So I see a few every now and again. And every time it seems like I see the same guy. He must have season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And what bothers me is he can clearly afford season tickets, but he clearly paid $10 or $20 for somebody to slap on his Western Conference 2004 All-Star jersey just the word mark "Wild" on the back that was not of the right font or anything, not the right nameplate.
Oh,
and then the number 13, which was also not of the right font or numbers that went with the jerseys. I think I had a picture of it on my old phone, but it kills me. I think I die every time I see it. It's the worst thing ever. I just you have wrecked an All-Star game jersey with this garbage.
Right.
Why? Before I start weeping here.
So just a kind of, and on a positive note, I've got a couple of jerseys here that pull up with, like I said, the Google images. One great jersey is a lady who is a fan. Looks like it was a Capitals jersey at the time when Alexander Semin played there. And she has on the back of her jersey, Semin space LVR, which would, Semin lover, which is fine if you're a hockey fan and you understand who she is talking about and how to pronounce the name. But clearly, if you're getting a hockey jersey that can even resemble something that sounds like semen lover, you're doing it wrong.
Oh no!
Also, here's a guy wearing a looks like a Penguins jersey that just says "I love boobs" on the back. You could go either way with that one. I could be on that guy's side, and at the same time, I can just kind of shake my head at that guy and be like, "Yeah, dude, come on."
Yeah.
There's a lot of various offensive ones, but one that I don't get what he's going for. There's a Flyers fan who has a Wayne Simmons jersey, number 17, and on the nameplate it doesn't say Simmons, it says the black guy.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Yes, Wayne Simmons is black, and it's like...
That's awful.
Yeah, what are you going for there, dude? Like, that, and you're in Philly. I can't imagine wearing that in public. In Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's taking your life in your own hands.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand. I mean, maybe that makes you and your buddies chuckle in your basement, but there's multiple pictures of this guy in public.
Wearing that in public.
Yeah, like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, aside from the fact that it's stupid, it's pretty ballsy, but there's just so many.
I did find a picture of that guy's jersey on my computer. I saved all the photos on my phone. Yeah. So I tweeted it to you, so if you want to look at that, go right ahead.
Yeah. God, that's bad.
But kind of side noting on that Wayne Simmons thing, Wayne Simmons is like a player I would love to have on my team.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so hard to hate Wayne Simmons.
Right. Sorry,
weird side note, but...
No, I'm with you on that.
Getting that out there.
Yeah, and that just makes the guy's jersey even more confusing because it's like, what? I don't know. It's like that feigning, I don't know, that feigning tolerance kind of thing that just kind of drives me nuts. Where it's like, I don't even understand. Like, are you trying to say you really like him because he's black, or like what are you going for here?
Yeah.
So. That's there's a lot of jersey fouls that I can't stand. I'll ask you, what's your stance on your own name and number on the back of the jersey? What do you feel? How do you feel about that?
Well, I have one sitting in my closet.
Okay.
But like I said, we kind of touched on this earlier when I said I thought things were cooler back when I was younger.
Exactly.
But I don't now, so it's not something I wear in public anymore because I've started buying player jerseys.
Yeah.
For like the longest time as a kid, I thought, having your own name and number on your jersey is great, but now it's just something that I just have and it sits there. So I wear whatever jersey I'm feeling that night, or whatever jersey I remember we last won at. So
good call.
Which on that note, until I had my Mikhail Granlund jersey signed, it had never lost a game that I wore it to. So it sucks that it now has to permanently sit on the shelf
because it's signed.
I'd love to have that in a crunch.
Yeah, I'm kind of the exact same thought as you. I thought it would be awesome as a kid. I obviously never had the money to do it. I don't have a jersey with my own name on it. But I really thought that it was really cool until you see some people at the game wearing it, like, some people in their, like, for instance, 40s and 50s with what you can tell is their own name and number on their jersey. And I hate to say it because, they're fans and they're entitled to do whatever they want. And I don't think it's horrible. A lot of people think it's kind of horrific and super immature. And there's a lot of people out there that just kind of think that wearing jerseys in general is immature, and I think that's just kind of a really stupid stance to have. But it just sometimes it just looks kind of sad. But to each their own, and I don't have an issue with those people so much as the jersey hating community, I guess, does. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world when I was a kid. I never could afford to have it done, but since then I've been like, yeah, you know what? I think I'd just rather wear a real player and look cooler doing that, even if there is 500 other people wearing his jersey at the game too.
And kind of on that immaturity level we talked about, when you Google search NHL jersey fouls,
yeah,
the most common number you get in these jersey fouls is 69.
I know. I've seen a lot of that.
To show the immaturity of people who are in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So
there's a Flyers fan here that has 69, and the nameplate on the back says "Doggy Style."
Boy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Which he seems. I mean, I'm no expert on the topic, but it seems like he's confused there.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised nobody's come up with a clever Giroux jersey foul that has a reference to his police grabbing incident. But maybe there is.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything out here.
One last common theme here in the jersey fouls is the split jerseys that I keep finding.
God, I know, me too.
Here's one lady. It's not a jersey. It's a cross of jerseys, but it's a cross of a Crosby and Ovechkin jersey.
Yes, I see that.
But on the back, the name spells out Crotchkin.
And the other one says Ovesby, which I don't know, maybe looks kind of like ovary, but that's just me.
It just.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd be rocking the Crotchkin jersey in public. But maybe it's just me.
How do people have the courage to wear this in public? I didn't have the courage to wear a shirt that said "Choke, the official drink of the New York Yankees" when I visited New York. Yeah, people wear this stuff in public to hockey games in far worse places. I'll never understand.
Yeah. I don't get it, but
anyway, I think that just about covers it.
Yeah, I think that ended us on a nice light note.
You got anything else you'd like to add on jersey fouls or anything else for that matter?
No, one final bit on the jersey foul. I looked it up, and there's a jersey foul here that maybe not so much a jersey foul, but just kind of a joke that the guy's jersey is the blank that you get when you look at personalized jerseys online. It says your name on the nameplate and 00 on the numbers. It's kind of funny, but I don't know that I would buy that jersey.
That's an incredible waste of money.
I know it is, but like I said, worth a chuckle. Maybe not wear it in public.
So to sum it up, if you learn anything from this podcast, it's how to appropriately spend your money on hockey jerseys.
Yes, if we have taught you nothing else.
So I believe Charlie said he should be back regularly next week.
Sure.
So obviously looking forward to his return, or unless we traded him again for some more Chipotle and beer.
He can keep us from doing 15 minutes of jersey talk every podcast when he returns.
Oh, that was very timely and coincidental. Charlie just texted me back.
Nice.
He got in his high school picks right at the buzzer here, literally.
Sure.
In Class A, Charlie goes with Hermantown, the number 1 seed.
Uh-huh.
And in Class AA, Charlie really stepping on the ledge here with this pick, going with the number 1 seed. So
way to put it out there, Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, he could be right. Like we said, crapshoot. Something to look forward to this week. Wild play a lot of games this week. Another thing to look forward to. So, yeah, if you're still with us, thanks for listening, and have a good week.
Live long and prosper.